What if I told you that the smart glasses launching in 2026 aren't just upgrades? They're the moment this entire category quietly stops being a gimmick and starts becoming inevitable. Because this time, it's not one company experimenting on the side. It's everyone. Google, Apple, Amazon, Snap. And they're not guessing anymore. They're converging on something very specific. A future where screens don't live in your pocket. They live in your world. And before we get into the wildest ones coming, just know this. Pulling all of this together took months of digging through announcements, developer previews, and half-finished demos most people missed. So if this kind of deep, early breakdown saves you time, hit subscribe now, because by the time these glasses are mainstream, you'll already know exactly which ones matter and which ones don single quotes T.now. The first pair coming in 2026 is so extreme that even calling them smart glasses feels wrong. They're wired Android XR glasses, internally known as Project Aura, and nothing else on this list comes close to what they're attempting. Up until now, AR glasses have lived in two worlds. On one side, you've got lightweight display glasses that mirror your phone or laptop and feel futuristic, but limited. On the other side, you've got full spatial computers like the Apple Vision Pro that are insanely powerful, but bulky, expensive, and socially impractical. Project Aura doesn't choose a side. It tries to collapse both worlds into one system. Most AR glasses you've seen rely on a wire to push a flat screen into your eyes. Some add a neckband to handle compute. But Project Aura moves all the compute and battery into a dedicated external puck. Similar to Apple's approach, except here, that puck isn't just dead weight, it doubles as a touchpad. And even that might be unnecessary because these glasses support full hand tracking in open space. No controllers. No phone. Just your hands interacting with floating elements as if they're actually there. And then there's the number that changes everything. A 70-degree field of view. To understand how insane that is, you need context. Most consumer AR glasses barely crack 40 degrees. Some of the widest on the market right now sit around 57 or 58 degrees. Meta's display glasses? Closer to 20. Apple Vision Pro hits around 100, but that's with a full headset. Jumping to 70 degrees in a glasses-like form factor completely redefines how content feels. This isn't a notification window anymore. This is space. Wide enough for multiple massive screens, full workflows, and real spatial depth that doesn't feel cramped or artificial. And because this is Android XR, the moment you put these on, you're stepping into the entire Android ecosystem. Not a stripped-down version, the real thing. Apps adapt dynamically to XR the same way they already adapt to tablets or foldables. A YouTube window here, a chat feed floating off to the side. Notifications appearing contextually instead of hijacking your attention. You can extend your laptop into the space in front of you and suddenly you're working with 3 displays while sitting at a cafe, but the part that quietly blows everything else away isn't the display. It's Gemini because unlike older AI glasses that can only see through a camera, Project Aura's Gemini sees your entire XR environment. It knows what app you're using. It knows what window is active. It understands intent based on what's literally in front of your eyes. You don't say, "How do I do this in Lightroom?" You just ask how to blur the background and it answers correctly because it knows Lightroom is open. That's the difference between AI that responds and AI that assists. And once you see that, it's impossible to unsee where this is going. Google has been repeating one phrase over and over. If you build for Android, you're building for Android XR, and that's not marketing fluff. It's a strategy. One codebase, one ecosystem. Phones, tablets, cars, watches, and now your face. This is the most aggressive platform play in spatial computing so far, and these wired glasses are the proof of concept that shows just how far they're willing to push it in 2026. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because not everyone wants a widescreen future strapped to their face all day. And Google knows that. That's why the next wave of Android glasses coming in 2026 splits into 2 very different ideas that look similar on the surface, but change how people will actually wear them. On one side, you've got wireless Android XR display glasses. On the other, Android AI glasses with no display at all. Both are designed to be worn all day. Both are built with Samsung. Both integrate Gemini deeply. Both support cameras, microphones, real-time translation, and look and ask intelligence. And both are designed in collaboration with Warby, Parker, and Gentle Monster because Google finally realized something the rest of the industry keeps learning the hard way. If the glasses don't look good, none of this matters. The display version keeps things minimal. A single color display in the right lens, likely small but sharp, designed to surface information, not overwhelm you. Navigation directions float just low enough to feel natural. Live translation shows subtitles when you need them. When you ask Gemini a question, it doesn't just answer, it shows helpful diagrams or images in your view. Ask how to tie a knot, and you don't just hear instructions. You see them dot, and despite the display, these glasses actually look normal. Not bulky, not sci-fi. About the same weight as Meta Ray-Bans, but far more refined. You get a subtle heads-up layout showing time, weather, temperature, always there. Never intrusive. And because this is Google, everything syncs instantly. Ask Gemini to add something to your shopping list, and it appears in Google. Keep across every device you own without you specifying an app or command. It just understands. Then there's the moment that hints at how far contextual memory has come. Gemini doesn't just answer questions about what you're looking at now. It can answer questions about what you saw minutes ago. Ask if there was anything high protein on a table you walked past earlier, and it knows. Tell it to add that item to your list, and it does. No prompts. No friction. Just continuity, and just when you think that's the peak, Google quietly shows something even stranger. After taking a photo, you don't invoke a command word. You don't open an editor. You just say, and now add, and describe what you want. The image updates instantly, as if the edit was always part of the moment. This is the shift most people won't notice at first. AI stops feeling like a tool you activate, and starts feeling like a layer that's already there, waiting. But what if you don't want to display at all? That's where the non-display Android AI glasses come in. Same cameras, same microphones, same Gemini brain, but no visual output, just audio, just intelligence. Think Ray-Ban Meta, but fully embedded in Google's ecosystem. Music, calls, photos, contextual questions, navigation spoken quietly into your ears. And because there's no display to power, battery life stretches much further. Two philosophies. Same platform dot, and just as this Android-centered future starts to feel dominant, another company steps in from a completely different direction and changes the conversation entirely, because the next glasses, coming in 2026, don't care about productivity dot, they care about presence dot, and that's where things start getting really strange. What if the real future of smart glasses wasn't about replacing your phone, your laptop, or even your headphones, but about replacing the idea that digital experiences have to belong to only one person at a time? Because right when everyone else is racing toward quieter assistants and invisible interfaces, Snap is doing the exact opposite. And it's not because they're behind. It's because they're early in a direction most people still aren't ready to judge correctly. At first glance, Snapchat spectacles feel almost uncomfortable. They're bold, rectangular, visibly different. Not the kind of glasses you forget you're wearing, and that's intentional. Because unlike Meta Ray-Bans or Android eyeglasses that try to fade into daily life, spectacles lean into being seen. They announce themselves. And once you understand why, the design suddenly makes sense. Snap has been working on AR glasses since 2011, long before most people even understood what augmented reality was. Long before Meta pivoted. Long before Apple entered the conversation. For over a decade, Snap wasn't trying to build hardware that disappears. They were building software that connects people inside the same physical space. Lenses, world mapping, object recognition, spatial anchors. Millions of developers experimenting in public every single day. So when those systems finally move from phones to faces, it doesn't feel experimental, it feels inevitable. These spectacles aren't about efficiency, they're about shared presence. Put two people in the same room wearing them, and something unusual happens. Digital objects don't belong to either person, they belong to the space. A floating sculpture exists between you. You can walk around it, point things out, interact with it together. An AR game isn't played on a screen. It's played between bodies, gestures, and eye contact. And the moment you see that, you realize Snap isn't competing with Meta Ray-Ban, Rainio X2, or even Android XR in the same category. They're building something adjacent: social-first glasses. Experience-first glasses. You can play AR games together where targets, scores, and movement exist in the same mapped environment. You can learn instruments with virtual guides tethered to real-world objects. A drum kit that teaches you rhythm by attaching visual cues directly to physical drums. A piano lesson that floats notes exactly where your fingers should land. Anatomy models that a group of people can explore simultaneously, rotating organs, highlighting systems, and discussing them as if they were actually there. This isn't theoretical. Developers have already built this stuff for years. And that's the quiet advantage Snap has that most people overlook. While others are still trying to convince developers to care about AR, Snap already has millions of them. Their lenses are used billions of times a day. Half as many as global Google searches. That means creativity didn't need to be invented. For spectacles, it just needed a new canvas. From a specs standpoint, these glasses hold their own. A 46-degree field of view more than enough for immersive AR experiences without the distortion that comes from extreme optics. A smooth 120 Hz refresh rate that makes motion feel natural instead of jittery. 6 microphones, stereo speakers, noise cancellation, full hand tracking, voice control. Phone-based controller support if you want it, but let's be honest, once you use hand tracking, everything else feels outdated. They're fully standalone, untethered, no phone required to function. Battery life sits around 45 minutes of continuous use, which sounds short until you remember something important. These aren't designed to be worn all day. They're designed to be worn during moments, hangouts, creative sessions, events, learning, play. And when they're not being used, fast USB-C charging makes topping up trivial. And then there's travel mode. You can pin screens while riding in a train or car, scroll, swipe, interact. The digital elements stay locked to physical reference points instead of drifting. Navigation becomes something straight out of a video. Game waypoints shooting into the sky, footprints guiding you on the ground. Ask how to get somewhere, and the world itself becomes the interface. Need help changing a tire? Visual anchors show you exactly where to place the jack. Trying to line up a perfect pool shot? Trajectory guides appear, calculating angles in real time. Touring a city? Build your own AR path with pop-ups that activate when you reach landmarks. And here's the part that feels almost unfair. These experiences don't end with you. You can hand a second pair to a friend and instantly share the same world. No setup, no scanning, no calibration rituals. Just eye contact, presence, and interaction. Snap calls it eye connect, and once you see it in action, it feels like a missing feature reality itself forgot to ship with. Businesses can pre-configure these glasses. Museums, tour companies, education centers. Entire experiences launch automatically when the glasses turn on. Remote management, controlled content, shared views. This is where smart glasses quietly cross the line from novelty into infrastructure. And yes, privacy questions exist. Visibility matters. Social norms haven't settled. A flashing LED signals recording. Transparency is built in. But the discomfort people feel around these glasses isn't because they're wrong, it's because they're early, too playful, too visible, too different. History is very clear about what usually happens next. Touchscreens were toys. Smartphones were distractions. Social media was just for kids. And yet here we are. While Snap refines shared AR, the rest of the industry is heading somewhere else entirely. Not louder. Not bolder, quieter, more invisible. And that's where the next entrant changes the balance again, because when Amazon enters a category, they don't test the water. They connect ecosystems. Amazon's consumer HUD glasses, internally known as Project Jayhawk, are expected in late 2026. This isn't a developer toy. This isn't an experiment. This is Amazon stepping directly into your field of view. A single display in the right. Lens, a camera, microphones, calls, notifications, Audible, Amazon Music, Alexa-driven. Intelligence layered directly into your day. Think about what Amazon already controls. Logistics, shopping, media, smart homes, voice assistants. Now imagine all of that compressed into a subtle visual layer you glance at instead of pulling out your phone. Delivery updates, directions, media controls. Contextual reminders tied to where you are and what you're doing. This isn't flashy. It's quiet, practical, and potentially everywhere. And then there's the company everyone is waiting for to say something. Even when they haven't officially said much at all, Apple. Apple's glasses are expected to be revealed in some form in 2026, with a likely release sliding into early 2027. And if history tells us anything, they won't be first, and they won't care. Apple's strategy is rarely about pioneering hardware, it's about refining experiences until they feel obvious. Reports point to two versions, display glasses and non-display AI glasses. The display version comes first. Why? Because Apple needs to compete directly with Meta, Google, and Amazon Invisible AR. Expect deep integration with iPhone apps, Apple Maps, Apple Music, Health, Reminders, spatial photo and video capture that feels dramatically better than anyone else is not because of specs, but because of computational photography. Apple doesn't need to win on features. They win on polish, on trust, on making complex things feel boring in the best way possible. And then, quietly, from another corner of the market, comes a brand that doesn't get nearly enough attention, but keeps shipping faster than almost anyone else. Rokid AI glasses, launching in early 2026, strip things back again. No display. Just intelligence. Cameras, microphones, long recording times, horizontal or vertical video, strong stabilization, clean design that looks shockingly close to wafers. And instead of locking you into one company's AI worldview, these glasses lean into ChatGPT class models for responses. If you like Ray-Ban Meta glasses but want better recording flexibility, faster updates, and different AI behavior, Rokid becomes a serious option. Especially for creators. Especially for people who want smart glasses that work now, not just promise a future. And this is where the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. No single pair of glasses is trying to do everything. Because they don't have to. Some focus on shared presence. Some focus on quiet assistance. Some focus on productivity. Some focus on capture. Some focus on ecosystems. And that's exactly how wearables evolve. Watches didn't replace phones. Earbuds didn't replace speakers. Each device found its place by owning a behavior. Smart glasses in 2026 aren't fighting to win a crown. They're carving roles. And the final part of this story isn't about which company wins. It's about what happens when all of these paths start to overlap. And the line between tool, companion, and platform disappears entirely. Because once that happens, smart glasses won't feel optional anymore. They'll feel expected. By the time you step back and look at everything coming in 2026, something uncomfortable starts to settle in. Not excitement. Not hype. Awareness. The realization that smart glasses aren't evolving in a straight line anymore. They're branching. Quietly, permanently. And once that happens, there's no going back to a single definition of what these devices are supposed to be. Because while some companies are chasing immersion, others are chasing invisibility. And the ones chasing invisibility might end up changing behavior the fastest. That's where non-display AI glasses stop feeling like a side category and start feeling inevitable. At first, it sounds boring. No visuals. No AR overlays. No floating interfaces. Just audio, camera, and intelligence. But that simplicity hides something powerful. When there's no screen demanding your eyes, technology stops competing with the world in front of you and starts enhancing it quietly from the background. This is why Meta Ray-Ban took off faster than most people expected. Not because they were revolutionary, but because they didn't ask you to relearn how to live. You could wear them, forget about them, and still get value. Calls, music, photos, quick answers. That frictionless usefulness is what pulls people in before they even realize they've changed their habits. Now imagine that same concept, but fused deeply into Google's ecosystem. Android AI glasses with no display aren't trying to impress you visually. They're trying to disappear. Longer battery life, lighter frames, more comfort, more prescription, flexibility. And because they're powered by Gemini, they don't behave like rigid voice assistants. You don't memorize commands, you speak naturally. Context does the rest. You see something, ask a question, get an answer. No setup, no mode switching, no look and tell me, just conversation. That's the kind of interaction that scales across age, groups, kids, parents, travelers, people who don't care about tech but still benefit from it. When a device doesn't ask you to think about how it works, trust builds quietly. And trust is what actually drives adoption. These non-display Android glasses still record photos and video. Likely horizontal by default, because that's how content is consumed now. Image stabilization smooths movement. Cameras handle moments your hands can't reach. Microphones handle calls clearly. Music flows without pulling your phone out every few minutes. And because everything ties back into Google services, reminders, notes, lists, and searches follow you across devices. Say something once, and it exists everywhere. Glasses, phone, tablet, desktop. No app names, no manual syncing. The ecosystem does what ecosystems are supposed to do, support instead of demand. That's also why battery life becomes a defining feature here. Without displays draining power, these glasses last significantly longer, comfort improves, heat disappears. And suddenly, wearing eyeglasses all day doesn't sound unrealistic anymore. It sounds normal. And this is where things get interesting. Because once non-display AI glasses become normal, displays stop being mandatory. They become optional, situational, something you choose for specific moments rather than something you tolerate constantly. Which brings us back to the idea that smart glasses aren't converging into one device, they're diverging into roles. Display glasses help you see more. Non-display glasses help you think less. And that second category might be the one that reshapes daily behavior the most. But then there's another force quietly pushing the entire market forward from a completely different angle. One that doesn't rely on OS wars, AI models, or developer platforms. Retail. Amazon's entry into consumer smart glasses matters. Not because of specs, but because of reach. Amazon doesn't need to convince people what smart glasses are. They just need to make them useful inside services people already depend on. Project Jayhawk isn't trying to wow you with cutting-edge AR. A single display in the right lens keeps costs down, keeps power consumption manageable, keeps social acceptance high. You glance instead of stare, you check instead of browse. Audible. Playback without earbuds. Amazon Music controls with a tap. Delivery updates that appear when you need them, not when your phone decides to buzz. Alexa responding instantly because it already knows your habits, your schedule, your home. This is utility-first design. Amazon has spent years embedding itself into everyday routines. Shopping, listening, navigating, controlling smart homes. Smart glasses become another surface, just closer to your eyes than your phone. And that's dangerous in the quietest way possible. Because when convenience stacks up just enough times, behavior changes permanently. You stop reaching for your phone. You stop checking screens. You trust the system to tell you when something matters. And once that trust forms, switching away becomes difficult. Then there's Apple, the company that rarely rushes, but almost always arrives with intent. Apple glasses aren't confirmed in detail yet, but the trajectory is familiar. 2 models. Display and non-display. Tight integration. Limited flexibility. Deep polish. Apple doesn't want to redefine what smart glasses are. They want to redefine what people expect them to feel like. If the Apple Vision Pro showed what spatial computing can be at its maximum, Apple glasses will show what it looks like when that ambition gets compressed into something wearable in public. Notifications that feel intentional instead of intrusive. Navigation that feels human. Cameras that outperform competitors without advertising megapixels. And just like with the Apple Watch, success won't come from replacing other devices. It'll come from complementing them so well that removal feels like loss. Which brings us to a truth that's impossible to ignore now. Smart glasses aren't competing with each other anymore. They're competing with friction, every step removed, every glance replaced. Every moment where technology saves you from breaking flow, that's where these devices win. That's why Reno X2 exists for people who want real-time information layered into reality. Why Meta Ray-Ban exists for people who want technology to vanish entirely. Why Snap Spectacles exist for people who want shared experiences instead of private ones. Why Android XR exists for people who want productivity without screens dominating their lives. Different futures, different personalities. Same direction, and the direction is clear. By the end of 2026, smart glasses won't feel experimental. They won't feel niche. They won't feel optional. They'll feel like something you either have or consciously chose not to. And that choice, the one where you decide how much help you want from technology without pulling a phone from your pocket, that's where the real shift begins. Because the final transformation isn't about hardware. It's about what happens when technology finally learns how to stay out of the way. And in the next part, that's exactly what becomes impossible to ignore. Before you even realize it's happening, the tone shifts. What begins as curiosity quietly turns into recognition. Not excitement, not fear, recognition. The kind that settles in slowly, like realizing a habit has already changed before you. Decided to change it. By the time you reach the end of all this, it stops feeling like a product roundup and starts feeling like a warning. Not the loud kind that grabs attention and demands a response. The quiet kind. The kind that only makes sense later when you look back and realize the moment already passed, while you were busy comparing specs. Because when technologies reach this phase, when they stop fighting head-to-head and instead fragment into roles, that's usually the moment before they disappear into daily life entirely. They stop being tech and start being assumed, expected, invisible, and that's exactly where smart glasses are heading. The mistake most people still make is asking which company will win. Meta, Google, Apple, Snap, Amazon, Rainio, Rocket. The list keeps growing, and every new name feels like another contender stepping into the ring. But that question assumes there's a single finish line. A final product, a crown. There isn't. There are multiple lanes now, and each one leads to a different version of everyday life. None of them cancel the others out. They simply coexist, quietly reshaping behavior in ways that don't announce themselves. In one version of that future. Smart glasses are something you put on when you want to see more than the world normally allows. Directions aren't something you glance at and then forget they're layered directly on the streets. Translations don't wait for you to stop and type, they appear as conversations unfold. Instructions don't live on manuals or screens, they anchor themselves to real objects, appearing exactly where you need them. That's Rainio X2 territory. That's Android XR territory. Technology stepping forward and saying, let me guide you, without needing you to look away from the world. You're already in another version. Smart glasses are something you forget you're wearing at all. They don't show you information. They don't add layers. They don't demand your attention. They wait, patiently, until you need music to fill the space around you. Until you need to take a call without stopping what you're doing. Until you need to capture a moment that would have been gone if you reached for your phone. That's Meta Ray-Ban. That's Rocket AI. That's Google's non-display glasses. Technology stepping back and saying, I'm here if you need me, and staying silent the rest of the time. And then there's the version that doesn't get enough credit yet, the one where technology isn't personal at all. Shared. Snap. Single quotes. Spectacles don't fit neatly into the same mental model because they're not designed to solve individual problems first. They're designed to change how people experience places together. That's why they feel strange. That's why they feel bulky. That's why they feel early. They aren't optimized for comfort or discretion yet because they're still testing a bigger idea, that digital information can exist in space, not just on personal screens. Every platform that reshapes behavior feels uncomfortable at the beginning. Smartphones were awkward before they were addictive. Social media felt pointless before it became invisible infrastructure. GPS felt unnecessary before no one could imagine driving without it. Spectacles sit in that same uncomfortable phase, where the potential is obvious but the execution hasn't disappeared into the background yet. What matters isn't battery life or frame thickness. Those things improve every year. What matters is the idea underneath, that digital content can exist in a physical space, and multiple people can agree on it at the same time. That one shift opens doors phones never could. Education stops being slides and starts being environments you can walk through. History isn't something you read, it surrounds you. Navigation stops being instructions and starts being paths everyone can see together. Games stop being isolated experiences behind glass and start occupying real parks, real rooms, real streets. That's not a spec improvement. That's a behavioral shift. And suddenly the question isn't, do I want smart glasses? It's which version of reality do I want help with? That's why 2026 matters. Not because everything will be perfect. It won't be. Battery limits will still exist. Social norms will still be awkward. Some designs will flop. Some companies will quietly retreat. Some promises will turn out to be premature. That's normal. Every foundational technology goes through this phase, but the baseline will change. By 2026. Wearing smart glasses won't spark curiosity, it'll spark comparison. People won't ask what they do anymore. They'll ask which ones you're wearing. And that's a subtle but massive shift. It's the moment technology crosses from novelty to infrastructure. Phones didn't disappear when laptops arrived. Laptops didn't disappear when tablets arrived. Tablets didn't disappear when watches became smart. Each device found its place by reducing a different kind of friction. Each one earned permission by fitting into moments the others couldn't. Smart glasses are doing the same thing but closer to your senses than anything before them. And that's where things become more complicated. Because when technology moves that close to how you see and hear the world, performance stops being the main concern. Trust takes over, not specs. Not features. Trust. Do you trust the device to know when to interrupt you and when to stay silent? Do you trust it to capture moments without making other people uncomfortable? Do you trust it to assist you without reshaping your behavior in ways you didn't consciously choose? That's the real competition happening beneath the surface. And it's not something benchmarks can measure. The companies that win here won't be the loudest ones. They'll be the ones whose devices behave well when no one is watching. When you're walking alone, when you're thinking, when life isn't optimized for demos or marketing shots, that's where Meta Ray-Ban quietly earned its place. By staying out of the way. By blending into habits people already had. By not asking for new behavior upfront. That's where Rainio X2 is still negotiating its role. By asking users to accept guidance in exchange for awareness. By offering more visibility at the cost of more intention, that's where Google is carefully positioning Android XR, not rushing, not overpromising. Letting the ecosystem mature before stepping fully into view, and that's where Apple will likely enter. Slowly, deliberately, with expectations already trained by years of devices that behave predictably. Apple won't sell smart glasses as a revolution. It'll sell them as the obvious next step. People didn't realize they were waiting for . So if you're waiting for one pair of smart glasses to replace everything, you might be waiting forever. Because that's not how this category evolves. Instead, different glasses will earn permission in different moments of your day. One pair for commuting, one for work, one for social spaces, one for exploration. Just like phones, watches, earbuds, laptops, and tablets already do. But if you pay attention to how each category quietly earns its place, the picture becomes clearer. Smart glasses aren't coming, they're already here, just spread out across different definitions of usefulness. And the most important choice isn't which brand you like, or which company you trust today. It's how much of your life you're ready to let technology see, hear, and understand. Because once intelligence moves to eye level, the relationship changes permanently. It stops being something you look at and starts being something that looks back contextually, passively, constantly. That doesn't mean dystopia. It doesn't mean utopia either. It means responsibility. It means design decisions suddenly matter more than marketing promises. It means restraint becomes a feature. And whether you realize it now or later, 2026 is the year that choice stops being hypothetical. It becomes practical, daily, normal. Not because smart glasses finally arrive, but because you stop noticing when they're there.